prolific speaker, a speaker with diverse experiences, who is recognized worldwide as an engaging and motivational speaker. Unfortunately, there was no budget for such a speaker, and they asked me instead. You get what you pay for. As I began preparing and researching for this speech, I realized how lucky the new inductees are. You're lucky you probably had Mrs. Orfali, as a 10th grade English teacher, who made you dress up and memorize a speech to be delivered in front of your peers. I learned from observing those classes that you get extra points if you make eye contact with the audience, move away from the podium, and you don't read the speech verbatim. I may not get many bonus points tonight. You're lucky you have access to Gale and Breuer and Galileo and Google. You have wikis and widgets and Twitter, LibGuides, NetVibes, Page Flakes, and of course, My Delicious. Your parents and I had microfiche, Encyclopedia Britannica, and our imaginations to do research. Samuel Johnson wrote, "Knowledge is of two kinds. We know a subject ourselves, or we know where we can find information about it. You are fortunate if you have access to an enormous amount of information. You're lucky to have God-given gifts, the gifts that have provided you with the ability to meet the stringent requirements to be inducted into the National Honor Societies. You have demonstrated abilities in the areas of scholarship, leadership, service, and character. What I would like to discuss with you now is your attitude. You're all very driven students. I know your daily routines are jam-packed with activities. Your typical day probably goes something like this. You got to school earlier today to attend an AP study session. You hustled through a class schedule that includes honors and AP classes. You gobbled down your lunch in 15 minutes and spent the rest of the period either doing research in the Media Center for that English project, or you were tutoring freshman academy students to get those extra service points, or maybe you went to a teacher's room for extra help, or to work on a club project. Right after school, you went to a grueling practice, whether it was a sport or fine arts, to get ready for that next competition. After practice, you went home, showered, grabbed dinner, and head to your room to start on homework. Maybe you worked on the gazillion vocabulary words Mr. Ard assigned for AP US History, or that physics project from Dr. Webb that you just can't quite figure out. Regardless, you were up until midnight or later studying. You finally go to sleep, only to have your cell phone alarm go off too soon, telling you to get up and do it all again. My question to you is, why? Somewhere along the line, someone, whether it be your teachers, your parents, or yourself, has impressed upon you that these are the things that you have to do to get into the college of your choice. When it comes to scholarship, you have to get that high GPA and score high on that SAT or ACT. When it comes to service, you have to log those volunteer hours to get those service points that colleges look for. When it comes to leadership, you have to get elected as an officer because it'll look good on that college application. When it comes to character, you want to be recognized as a good person who is tolerant and considerate of others. My question again is, why do you do all these things? My hope is, it's not just because it will look good on a college application. My hope is you do it because you know it's the right thing to do. I'm confident that all of you being inducted tonight, because of all that you have accomplished at Creekview, are going to get into a good college. Once in college, you start with a clean slate. My advice to you is to make sure you transfer the qualities you displayed in high school to your work in college. My challenge to you is to find your passion. Find the academic content area that challenges and inspires you. Perform volunteer work because your heart is telling you you are needed and your efforts will be worthwhile and satisfying. Run for office of an organization because you truly believe in the principles of that organization and that maybe you can have an impact. When considering character, I'll quote Thomas Macaulay: "The measure of a man's real character is is what he would do if he knew he would never be found out. In my coaching days, I would tell my athletes, a true champion works hard when no one is watching. What will you do when no one is looking? In summary, as you move forward in life, consider your attitude and your passion. Do great things, not because you will impress someone else. Do it to fulfill yourself. Maybe the passion you develop and cultivate will make you famous. Maybe it'll make you rich. Certainly, it'll make you happy. Congratulations on being inducted into the National Honor Societies. I'm very proud and impressed with your accomplishments, but more importantly, I hope you are. Thank you.